But it does another thing. Error does factor into it, right? Because now we get down to here. True but trite. That's a very, very good phrase. He starts to get into a particular example. Risks are not easily manageable, accidents are not easily preventable, right? And he starts picking apart this one thing. But suddenly it's not really about who agrees or who disagrees, right? It's about this being an inaccurate statement when it's applied in the wrong context, right? So there's a shift happening there. He's moving from an idea of Malcolm Gladwell is misrepresenting like who actually thinks this way, right? To a discussion about whether or not what Malcolm Gladwell says is accurate. This is actually kind of a really complex question, but how does he get from the first to the second? So what we're going from is no more highlighting. We versus me versus you. So that's the question in part one, right? But then he gets to accuracy, truth. Question of knowledge. How do we get from 1 to 2? Okay, so he then knocks it down with an ambiguous observation such that risks are not easily manageable, accidents are not easily preventable, right? That's the straw part, right? First the we part, then the straw part, right? Where the transition happens is where the boldface type is right now, right? As a generic statement, this is true but trite, and then an explanation, right? So this is where the shift is being made to him taking apart a specific concept that Gladwell is putting forward, right? Before he's characterizing Malcolm Gladwell's techniques of argumentation, I should say analysis or presentation, right? And now he's shifting to a specific idea that Gladwell is talking about. So we start talking about form, and now we shift to content. And that shift to content happens right here. True, but trite. So what does true but trite mean? What does trite mean? Okay. Now remember, as you're doing your research paper, you're going to come across a lot of very complex concepts. Always look them up. So who wants to give a characterization of what true but trite means? Okay, that's good. That's good. So what's the contradiction in being true but worn out? I mean, why but is all I'm asking, right?
Why say it at all? It's trite. Like risks are not easily manageable. It's like okay. You're not. It's like he's not telling us anything new. He's not reminding us of anything. It's just
right. Good. Good. Yeah. I'm not making fun when I say this, but that was it's like okay. When you said that, you know. So why say it? It's like okay, right? I think that's actually a really good characterization, right? Then you move, which is just like the way that we your characterization is more or less the way that we actually see this, right? The other way of putting it is, so what, Malcolm? Right? And that's a good step. You want to have it in your own words and see it the way you see it, and then translate it in exactly the way that you just did, right? From okay to he hasn't told us anything new, right? So that's a translation. So that's a translation from a reaction to a criticism, right? So he hasn't told us anything new, right? But if that's a good translation of it, how do we relate that to the question of agreement.
Like, if that's his thesis, then it's not really argumentative, but there isn't much room for dissent.
So we're all going to agree on it. Okay. Let's stick with that as opposed to the issue of whether or not Gladwell is opening his essay up to critique. So what does it mean to say that we're all going to agree on it? That's, I believe, what you mean when you say he's not telling us anything new. You're saying we were already there, right? Okay. How would we connect that to the question of consensus?
The sky is blue, okay? I'm not going to disagree with you. We're all there.
Okay, right. So we're all there. So people already agree, right?
Yeah.
But what Pinker has shown is that what Gladwell tries to do is take us from a place where we agree to a place where, to a counterintuitive conclusion, right? He tries to change the way we see things, right? Are we in contradiction then? Do we or do we not think that the sky is blue?
Is it actually blue? It is, right? I don't know. Yeah, I guess so.
Except when it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question then is, what's Pinker getting at, right? Is he saying, one, so is he saying that Gladwell isn't changing our minds? Or is Pinker just being contradictory here?
I don't see how Pinker is being self-contradictory. I don't
Okay.
see how you came up with that conclusion. I don't see the basis behind it, basically.
Okay, what's wrong with it for you?
I just don't see where it comes from.
Okay, so that would come from Pinker saying that, shoot, I guess we'll do it this way. That would come from saying that Pinker is on the one hand saying we don't all agree on that, right? To saying he hasn't told us anything new, right? So we don't all agree with that, and we already knew that, right? There's a contradiction there. So which is it?
If you say Gladwell does both, it's like they're both wrong. Doesn't necessarily have to stick, like when he's not saying something so obvious we all agree, he's saying something none of us ever, none of us think that originally. So it's like he's never really hitting our assumptions or what we believe as people. He's not doing it right either way.
So he's saying that Gladwell is either, one, saying something we already believe, or two, saying something we never believed. Right? I think he's saying that that's happening in both cases.